MyWitnessNews. The news they don't want you to see.
Hello and welcome to My Witness News. I'm Melody Mills.
And I'm Mike Marshall.
By now, everyone has heard about the meteorite crash in Russia. We've got some striking developments.
Our planet has been hit by meteorites many times before. Now Russians are saying this time was no accident. No accident? Melody, our science editor George Hofmann says maybe the Russians are right.
What the Russians are claiming is certainly plausible. The capability for an international meteorite strike has its roots in the Star Wars Defense Initiative of the Reagan administration, or SDI. In the 80s, the U.S. was still concerned with Russian nuclear missile attacks. The strategy behind SDI was to put weapons in space that could destroy or at least deflect any missiles that the Russians aimed over here.
George, what does the Star Wars program have to do with meteors?
Well, Mike, the fear now isn't Russian missiles, it's asteroids. Some asteroids are so big they could destroy a city, a country, or even the whole planet. Scientists realized they could use the Star Wars concept to protect us from those asteroids.
But asteroids are a lot bigger than any Russian missile.
Right you are, and that brings us right back to that Russian meteorite crash. If you can deflect a killer asteroid, you can use that same technology to deflect a meteorite.
George, that kind of technology would take time to develop.
That's also correct, but let's take a look at the history of the U.S. space program. In 1961, President Kennedy said we'd put a man on the moon within the decade. Now, what most people don't know is when he made that statement, the U.S. space program was in its infancy. We couldn't put a rocket into the air safely, much less into space. And a few years later, we did it. We were on the moon.
And it's been quite some time since that Star Wars idea was born.
7 years from a dead stop, and we put a man on the moon. After 30 years of research, can we deflect a meteorite? I think we can.
We'll have more on meteorite attacks with My Witness News science editor George Hofmann in coming reports.